Hey, my name is Braden League, and I would like to tell you about my prototype game that I made called RogueLLMike. RogueLLM-like. Anyways, this is a prototype I made using rote.js and Ollama to demonstrate a method in which I think you could use a local LLM to generate item and world descriptions, either at runtime or in this case, as the level loads. So the game is a pretty traditional turn-based, tile-based monsters, but what I think makes it cool is we take the game state and feed it into a LLM to have it narrate elements of the world back to us. Right now we're doing this in two ways. The first is in artifact creation, and the second is with the level introduction. So when the game generates a level using traditional procedural generation methods, we create the level and place a artifact in the level. The artifact then looks at where it is in the level, what kind of tile it's sitting on, and as well as rolling from a table to create its name and kind of description of the artifact. Using a method I like to call Mad Libs like, we create a prompt and feed it into the LLM to get a item description, and now we have the artifact with its generated item description. This item description uses one-shot inference, so we have an example of what a good item description could look like, and also we ask for it to be formatted in XML with the description and the name. Next, we generate the level introduction, and I think this is a cool example of how we can do this sort of recursive generation, where we take the item and its generated description, and then ask the LLM to generate an introduction for the level as if they were a DM, more or less. Fitting in things like, what's the level made of? Stone, grass, water, where the artifact is in the level, then the artifact's description, how many monsters are in the level, and in theory, really any number of parameters we could account for. So we take that and feed it into the LLM a second time and get this level introduction. This time it streams in and the player can dismiss it, so you don't have to wait for this description to be done. But yeah, that's the prototype in a nutshell. I'm really just trying to demonstrate the ways that you could use a local LLM to generate descriptions in your world. I've had this idea for a while to use an LLM in a game that is not a chatbot. I think using a chatbot is well fun to play around with sometimes, not the way we want to do it in games, and I don't think just hooking up an NPC to a LLM and letting the player talk to the NPC is also really a good idea. But in this prototype, we control the game developer, and the game simulation controls exactly what we send to the LLM, and and also before we show it to the player, the engine will then check it and go is this what we're expecting? Right now it's just checking for the formatting of the tags correctly, but I think it greatly reduces the risks that a lot of LLMs have right now. Obviously it could still hallucinate, but we actually kind of want these models to hallucinate sometimes. In cases for the level description, we want it to be creative, and as long as we sort of wrap it up in the lore and present it in a way that it's okay if it says that there are killer zombies on the loose, but actually they're quite mundane zombies, that's fine. Yeah, I see this project going a couple of ways, but I wanted to release this prototype to show people kind of what I've been working on and really prove out this idea that I've had for a while, where you can query a LLM, but not let the player query it, right? So you control all the parameters that go into the model, while at the same time allowing a solo dev to really scale their world potentially well beyond with what a solo dev could traditionally do. Just the combination of things you could feed in and the way you could scale your game, I think is really cool. So yeah, check it out. I think it's neat. One last thing, you may notice, well, if you look through the code, that it looks like it was written by AI. And that's because I'm not a great programmer. I am a pretty good game developer, I think, but I did use agentic coding methods, agentic coding IDEs. I used Cursor primarily, played around with a couple other ones. I mostly used Claude, but I used ChatGPT or GPT-5 when it came out. Used Gemini. I don't really have any loyalty to a model, especially because this is not really traditional web development or really just traditional software development at all. It's game development. I didn't really care which model I was using because, in my mind, the most important thing, and in my opinion, the most important thing for a game is the player-facing experience. So if you look through the code and you're like, Brayden, why did you do that? That's a good question. I don't know. I have tried to read through most of the code, and I think it's architected pretty well, and it does what I expect for the most part. So I decided to release it and let you all sort of poke at it. So yeah, check it out. I think it's neat. Thank you.